Coming to you live from the Vegas Video Network studios, just steps from the Las Vegas Strip, it's Talktails with Chris Phillips. Woo. Oh, yeah. Coming up on today's program, we decide how to read a calendar and we strip Chris naked. And now a man whose sheets are made out of the Velvet Crown Royal bags. Yummy. Mr. Chris Phillips.
What was that?
I felt like riding a horse, brother.
I didn't even put a quarter in the machine.
It was more what you did with your hand before the show. Thing. That's enough. That's enough.
Well, if you just tuned in, you're probably wondering, what am I watching? This is, ladies and gentlemen, such a treat to have you folks with us. My name is Chris Phillips, and we are coming to you live from warm, sunny Las Vegas, where you're watching a wildly successful new show on the internet called Talktails.
Wow, that's a nice audience, brother.
I know, I should say so.
I like it.
4 sounds like 400 if you just mic it right.
It's the echoey metal walls.
Well, I'll tell you something. This is really cool to have you tune in and join us, because as you know, every Monday at 4 o'clock we get to do 2 out of 3 of my very favorite things, and that is drink and talk about Las Vegas.
What's the third thing?
Drink
and talk about Las Vegas.
Let me see. Actually, the third thing involves drinking usually.
Nice.
And it usually involves talking, but a whole different kind of vocabulary.
I've seen who you talk with. They're very pretty.
Oh, you see. Well, I'll tell you something. I feel bad that for those of you who tuned in last week, we took a little vacation. It was July 4th.
Yep.
And I was actually honored to go back to my hometown and do a huge concert for about 1,000 of our old fans that are back in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh, yeah, nice.
And it was such a treat because, it was, there's nothing that brings out the patriotic spirit more than a middle-aged white guy singing Lil Wayne songs and 50 Cent to a bunch of families.
It does mean that America is the greatest
country
ever.
It was genuinely amazing. We did it at the Princess Resort in Scottsdale, the Fairmont Princess Resort.
Was that the one that you played at before?
We have done things there before for the Phoenix Open and such. And so they had us come back and do a little holiday show, and it was so sweet because we had a lot of our fans show up, but not just them, but with their families and their kids. All right. And it was very patriotic. They had fighter jets flying over our head. There was fireworks, and it's such a nice change for us because, as you know, we're in an environment where it's typically hookers and gamblers and drunks, and that's just the guys on stage.
That's the best people ever.
But, we had families, and all the little kids were waving their little American flags, and it was so sweet. And we got to see a lot of our old friends and family. And that's nice. The thing that was funny about it, though, is about 2 hours after it, I was like, get me back to the hookers and drugs and booze and everything Vegas has to offer. I couldn't stand it.
Cheers,
but it looks like,
that,
I should say so. That's in the true spirit of Las Vegas. But yeah, we took a week off, and we're so sorry because we were celebrating, I think it was 236 years ago that our forefathers, a group of attorneys, got together and they signed the Declaration of Independence.
I just want you to know I didn't study.
Well,
so if there's going to be a history test, I am screwed.
I think I got my math right.
Okay.
But, it was a big week because we get to celebrate our independence and our freedom.
Sure.
And today we do the same things. Attorneys just call it a decree of dissolution.
Right.
Which I've had one of those.
I'm on Wife 2.0. I know that. I know what that's all about. I do. I've been married for 16 years, just not in a row.
There you go.
Pretty good. You should probably explain why.
You got to mix it up. Well, folks, many of you may know if you saw posted on Facebook or whatever the case, we had such a great guest today, and he's one of my dear friends. One of the biggest shows in Las Vegas is, in fact, a Broadway musical called Jersey Boys. It hit the town by storm a couple years ago. It's killing with numbers and the success. It's not just a show you want to go see. It's a show, in my opinion, that you want to go see time and time again because it's so much fun and the cast is incredible. But we had with us today Frankie Valli himself, the lead. He's a dear friend. His name is Travis Clower. And I said that we're so glad to have you. It's going to be Monday the 11th. Well, he texted me about 20 minutes ago from Nashville, Tennessee, going, "No, Zowie, Chris, I'm supposed to be on your show next week, the 11th.
It's really not that hard.
It's the 11th. So, you know, in lieu of having a guest, I hate that we have to do this again.
You have no idea. I did not wear the right shirt for this show. I'm just telling you right now.
Instead of canceling the show, there's nothing I love more in life than having to talk about my personal life with Scott. And that is, in fact, what we're going to do. Part 2 of Chris Phillips, Zowie Bowie.
So we should explain why. So after that first show we did,
yes, I know.
We got a reasonable number of responses to that asking for more information. You know, Chris is a pretty fascinating cat. And we kind of talked mostly about the past just about up to now, but we didn't really get a chance to speak a lot about, you know, kind of the future, what you're thinking. Then we got all these different emails, a variety of different subjects, and I just thought I would just read the emails, get your feedback on that.
And speaking of emails, I would love for you to, at any time through the week or whenever you have a free moment, if you do have questions or comments, please go to Talktails at vegasvideonetwork.com. And I can tell you that we have been getting emails for the last 9 weeks that we have been doing this, and I've yet to return or answer one question. So we're going to do that right now.
You know what? Because I don't think you use email. I think you're kind of a text guy.
Well, I heard that. That's something the kids are into.
I send you
No,
Dear
I'm a
Chris,
texter.
how are you? Nothing. Then I get a text. Hey, are you sending me emails? Okay. So first email is from Rich, a long one. Subject: great show.
Well, he's right then if that's his assessment.
They call him Tripod. Good night. I knew I'd be able to use that joke for somebody. That's enough. KSHP, by the way, AM 1400.
Yes.
That will not be on there. Yes, it will. All right. This is from who did I say? Rich. A long one.
Long email.
Oh, you can't see it, but it's there. Okay. Hey, Chris. I just wanted to give you props. I love your show. And the last episode was absolutely great. I'm going to assume that was the show that you and I did.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
I don't know. It's refreshing to see somebody in Vegas not take themselves so seriously and to be so honest about themselves regardless of what others may think. To be perfectly honest, I had no idea exactly who or what a Zowie Bowie was.
As most people, including myself, have no idea.
Right. But I'd visit once a year, see the advertising, which is, you know, everywhere, and was kind of curious about it. I recently moved to Vegas. And the way things here are stink. The Cirque, bottle service, DJ stuff, pool parties. I want to stop for a minute. Why do you think that that's what people are doing? Why are all the casinos doing this? When you come from a position that says live music really is the heart of entertainment, I would suggest that's your position. Why do you think all these casinos are pulling back from that and doing the DJs and the bottle services and the pool parties and those kind of things?
There obviously has been an evolution here in Las Vegas over time where the original intent and the spirit of Las Vegas back when Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley ruled the land. See, back then, there were no nightclubs in Las Vegas.
Right.
There were shows. And instead of going to pure nightclub at 2 in the morning, you'd go see Sammy Davis Jr. at the Sands at 2 in the morning.
Right.
And so where the young people who wanted to go out and experience a social type of experience, they would go to shows, showroom shows, and see entertainers.
Right.
And so entertainment, kind of blossomed during that era as a means to socialize. And over the years, obviously with the advent of nightclubs, and it really wasn't until about 15 years ago that Las Vegas really started putting great deal of time, energy, and investment into nightclubs with DJs instead of the shows with bands and acts and things like that. And it's a whole different kind of generation. The kids of today want instant satisfaction. It's an MTV era where it's about getting lucky, really. And you combine some cocktails and some good-looking girls and you put them all together. They don't want to be distracted necessarily by a show that they have to sit in a seat and watch when they could be watching each other. And that's essentially what a nightclub is, and I don't blame them. If I go out on a Saturday night, I typically would go to a nightclub myself as well. But it's a shame because I've obviously come from the old school of entertainment. I love entertainment. I particularly love the shows in Las Vegas. I was born and raised on coming here and seeing Don Rickles and Frank Sinatra and Suzanne Summers at Caesar's Palace and these kind of things. And obviously, being born and raised into the rock and roll generation of Van Halen and my favorite kind of bands through the early 80s, I used to love going to see concerts.
Yeah.
So I combined a rock concert with a Vegas show, and that's essentially what I'm doing for a living. So I guess I'm kind of old school in that sense. But yeah, there's definitely been an evolution over the years where at least the big money-making entities in this town are, in fact, the nightclubs and the now what are called day clubs, which are essentially pools that turn into nightclubs during the day. Right. And you take a day pool like Encore Beach, which is relatively new. Right. They make $1 million a day out there. Right. We don't do that at our show.
Well, so the question has to be, you know, there's people out there who like what you do and who love what you do, who follow.
I'd like to be entertained personally.
And but these guys are making money. They're
are they ever?
One would assume they're killing it because pretty much every casino. Well, that's a good question. Are you aware of? You don't have to name names, but are you aware of some of these nightclubs, DJ-based places that aren't killing it?
I think the ones that aren't doing quite as well are the ones that aren't part of a conglomerate. You have 2 or 3 major nightclub companies who are kind of like the hotel companies that don't own just one club or one hotel. They own 4, 5, 7 hotels or 3 or 4 nightclubs. And when you get a conglomerate like that coming together to do something in that nature, you now have the networking abilities that they have and resources to people all over the country that they can tap into and lure into their clubs. There's a tremendous amount of campaigning that goes on for each and every nightclub to not just open their doors and hope people come, but on a daily basis they have an army of hosts and cute young girls that draft people into their club. And it's a daily struggle for them as well.
Well, so
kind of like ticket brokers that try to get people to come into shows.
Do you think then that you compete with those DJ-based nightclubs? When you, in other words, you go and pitch. Like I know right now, maybe we'll talk a little bit about this. You're trying to pitch. You are pitching. You are speaking to other properties here on the Strip about another thing, another show.
Yes, correct.
Right. When you go up there, do you acknowledge, is that part of your presentation, your talk, that we know about the DJ-based nightclubs, this is something different? Or, I mean, does that come up in the conversation?
Right. And
I would think from a business perspective, they're like, crap, we're making a ton of money here.
Yes.
How do we, what's the story that makes that happen? Or do you even talk about that?
I think to back up just for a second, for those who may not know even what it is I do, I'm from Arizona and I have a show that I do out at Red Rock, and it's a high-energy, top 40 hip-hop nightclub concert. And it's definitely something that is to be an alternative to a nightclub. But quite frankly, it's more about being the in-between stage of the evening from when people go to dinner and when they go to the nightclub. Because in this city, as you may know, people don't really even go to nightclubs till around midnight.
That's a good point.
And so we offer something to do after dinner before you go to the nightclub. Right. It's a show, it's a concert, it's a club, it's a social environment. And so we typically do our show between 11 and 1, whereas nightclubs in the town usually don't even get kicking till around 1 o'clock. And so many, many times people come and see Zowie Bowie and then go to the club afterwards. Right. Now, what I like to think is that we offer something to those who, like myself, don't necessarily want to pay $1,000 to sit down and stand in a line and hopefully get in and mess with the crowds and the noise and the people and the mess. But even more important than that, I'm somebody who likes to not just go out and sit in a booth and drink and have nothing happen through I like to be entertained. I guess maybe I have ADD or something like that. But I come from the old school where I like some kind of a show in my face, especially if it's interactive and it's exciting and fresh and new every time you see it. And so we have essentially come out here with the intent of entertaining that group of people who love to go out, love to socialize, but don't necessarily want to go to a traditional nightclub. Now,
well, who's fitting that niche now? Right? Because we know that you're right. The DJs, that stuff doesn't start till midnight, 1 o'clock. Right. So who do you say today on the Strip is covering that time frame between dinner and going out to the
on the Strip, to be honest, there really isn't anybody.
So why hasn't anybody
that's why
said,
we're appealing to locals And so we, in fact, are kind of the nightclub to the locals where they can come out, and it's a very wide, diverse age group. Are
you speaking of the Red Rock gig?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's very diverse in terms of the demographic comes in, but it's primarily young, attractive people who may, in fact, be going to the nightclubs afterwards.
So is part of the issue that the casinos are thinking, well, after they eat, we want them to gamble?
Yes, my job in theory is to, in essence, get a group of people liquored up into a frenzy and send them out into the casino floor.
Right.
And they can spend carelessly. I've been doing that for years.
Okay, let's take a break. I've got a ton of other questions that we want to get to. You're watching Talktails with the very handsome
God, thanks.
Chris Phillips. We'll be right back.
And semi-intoxicated.
Hello. See you later. Anytime you're ready, Jacob. You hire a guy, and what happens?
By the way, I think you need a Philip. I see you've got your beer chaser, but I don't see your main cocktail going on here.
Okay.
Did you have a nice 4th, Scott?
We're still on. This is kind of
I
fun.
thought maybe I'd find out what the
I did have
in the world you did. You know what I did?
We had a big pool party.
You had a pool party.
Yeah. You want me to go check what you're doing, brother? What's going on?
Who needs a commercial?
I had a good.
Let me know when I'm live. Hi, everybody. This is Bridget Magnus of Getting Real Estate in Vegas, and you are watching the Vegas Video Network.
Well, howdy, everybody. Welcome back to the Vegas Video Network. You're watching Talktails. My name is Chris Phillips, and today's guest, unfortunately, was supposed to be Travis Clower, who plays Frankie Valli in Jersey Boys, the wildly successful Broadway musical at the Palazzo. But I'm afraid that we had a miscommunication. He's, in fact, going to be here next Monday, the 11th. No, I love him. He knows I'm kidding. He's my dear friend. Good Lord, I love he and his wife. They're
We're
awesome.
going to be selling him a calendar application.
Yes, and I found out 20 minutes before we went on, he wasn't in the parking lot. He's, in fact, in Nashville, Tennessee.
Nice.
So that's a hell of a cab ride to get here. So
Nice.
We are, in fact, doing a little, I guess you might say, maintenance on our emails that we have not tended to in weeks and weeks, and so we apologize for not getting back to you, but we thought this was a great opportunity to answer some questions and kind of respond to some of the comments that have been made over the ongoing weeks.
So we got a lot of people who are aspiring musicians.
Sure.
Who watch the show. I mean, you've established yourself as kind of a big deal here, and you've done well. And you're well known. I mean, I've seen I watch your Facebook. You're hanging out with everybody, all the pretty people.
Oh, the pretty
You're
people.
with these guys and that guy. You're doing these kind of things. It's pretty cool. So you're doing pretty well. But we've got several questions from people who are aspiring to work their way up to that. And it's much more difficult now than it was back in 05.
Considerably.
I remember when I moved here, we were looking at a house. Actually, this was in 03. We were sitting at the bar at Mandalay Bay, and we're watching a cover band, a really good cover band. And drummer came to sit by us. We had a couple of drinks, and he's like, I lived in Minnesota. I came down for a weekend to help my buddy out. I haven't left yet. I just bought a house. And he worked for one band just doing covers, and he bought a house. And I'm like, this is the greatest job ever.
It is the greatest job ever.
It's changed.
It has changed.
A lot. So first question from Terry with an I. So I'm guessing this is a girl. She's a new act. Trying best to understand who should we reach out to. So kind of put your, who do we talk to when we're first trying to get into a casino or a club or a bar or whatever.
Sure.
What is the title of the person who would be interested in our act? Who should I be talking to?
Well, obviously, over the last several years, there has been a few different factors that have gone into why it is more difficult to work and make money in this town. Obviously, the economy has an overwhelming amount of that's responsible for that. But what has happened is because things have changed along those lines here in Las Vegas over the last couple of years, one of the first things to go has been the entertainment budgets. And so the entertainment directors' hands are tied in terms of what they can do, who they can hire, and how much they can pay them. And as I might have indicated when we spoke before, when we were brought out here 5 years ago, the times were very different. and you could kind of demand anything you wanted. And we came out here and made a tremendous amount of money.
Right.
Within 3 years, the economy went south, and so did the entertainment budgets. And even though we were doing 3 times as good, once the economy went bad, the fact that the entertainment budgets went away, it didn't matter. And so what has happened is that in many live venue scenarios, they have taken the live act out and put in a DJ even into nightclubs where they were typically live music. And that's kind of a shame to see. But to answer the question in terms of what does she need to do to get into that world, and things are changing, things are turning around.
And who should you reach out? Is it the entertainment director?
Absolutely. I think that is the most typical way to go about it. It helps, of course, to live here in Las Vegas, because if you are going to take a position as a cover band, so to speak, in a lounge, which is different than what we do, ours is more of like a concert, a show.
Right.
But the typical lounge shows where a cover band plays, they play 6-7 nights a week, from maybe 9 till 2 in the morning, 5-6 sets. It's a marathon of music. It's something I can't fathom.
Right.
And they don't pay very well.
Yeah.
But if they do want to get into that world, there is opportunity. There are still some lounges that exist.
And there are some bands here who are, like Naga Hide and
of course.
City
For heavens, yes. Especially in the local casinos, they still cater to the local live music scene. But on the Strip, there isn't a whole lot of opportunity that isn't just the small little lounges where you have to be very quiet and play.
Jazz band kind of thing.
Yeah, even the little top 40 bands, they aren't really allowed to pack much of a punch in terms of creating a concert atmosphere. It's very low key.
So we were out walking around this weekend, and we saw a band playing at Tropicana.
Yes.
In that little lounge down there. And we saw a band playing at Bally's.
Yeah, they have a cool little lounge.
Yeah.
I love that lounge.
How much do those guys make? If you were to guess.
I don't know, but I do know that from the people that I've spoken with that do that kind of thing, I think generally anywhere from $500 to $1,500 a night is pretty standard.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's very different for something like what we do, where we generate most of our revenue through alcohol sales that are from people that are specifically there to see us, as compared to a lounge act in a casino that caters primarily to tourists who just happen to be walking by.
Right.
So it's a very different type of thing.
So you get a piece of the
No.
food and beverage? Yeah, I didn't think so.
No, but the reason things have changed so much in terms of live acts, music shows, or anything on the Strip is that typically over the decades, you could be a very talented performer or have a wildly popular show, and the casino would come to you and say, we would like to have your show in our hotel.
Right.
They would pay you a salary.
Which is what they did to you.
They would market us.
Right.
They'd market you, yes, is what they did with us.
Right.
And they knew that regardless of what the money that was going to be generated by that show, they knew that people were going to be coming into the hotel and gambling and going to restaurants and making money throughout the property, not just within the theater or the nightclub. That is not the way it's viewed these days.
Yeah.
Every square foot of a casino has to be generating revenue or it goes bye-bye. And that includes entertainment. If you aren't selling tickets or you're not creating alcohol revenue, you have no purpose for them because they don't view you as a draw or a decoration for the casino like they used to in the old days.
Do you think that's more predicated on the, right now, times are still a little tough. It's getting better, though.
Yes.
Things are getting a little bit better.
Sure.
We're seeing some of the best revenue we've seen in years happening, gambling. Do you think that they'll loosen that up? Think they'll go back and say, hey,
what's happened is casinos got smart and they figured out if there's a show that really wants to be in a room bad enough, the show will pay rent.
They'll four-wall it.
They'll four-wall it is what they call it.
Right.
They'll pay the rent. They'll pay their own marketing.
Right.
And then they have to kind of grease the palms of
brokers and stuff.
ticket brokers and things to get people to buy tickets and such. That's such a tough way to have to do it, though. And you have to have
it's predominant.
Deep pockets. You have to have investors.
Right.
And usually for even a mid-sized show to get off the ground, you're looking at least $500,000 to $1 million within the first couple months just to get it off the ground.
What's a mid-sized show? That's insane.
Yeah, it's
by the
incredible.
way.
And I'm not talking about a Jersey Boys
Insane.
here or Celine Dion. Those are huge productions with huge budgets. I'm talking about, take a hypnotist as an example who wants to go into
Of which there are many.
a mid-size room that maybe not a lot of people are aware of. You're looking at probably just in advertising yourself having to spend upwards to $20,000 to $30,000 a week.
And sometimes in the
to
contract,
just to get 100 people.
they're required to do that, aren't they? In some of those deals,
depending on
In
the
other words,
contract, of
But there are
course.
some that say, you're going to pay for the room, and
Yes.
by the way, besides paying for the room, we expect you to spend
Right.
$20,000 a week or whatever on billboards, advertising, whatever.
right.
That's part of the deal.
That's correct.
Unbelievable how
Yeah,
that does.
it is.
From the live chat, FD has a question. He goes, would you survive in today's Las Vegas if you didn't have the preceding 5 years behind you? In other words, if you showed up today,
It would be considerably more difficult. Luckily, we have a reputation, a built-in following, and like I say, kind of a brand at this point that people know. Whereas I have some dear friends who just moved here from Seattle, who are doing something very similar to Zowie Bowie, and they, as many people do, they think they can come here, and if they think, well, we have this polished product.
Right.
We're very good at what we do. We were very popular back in our hometown.
Right.
Now we're going to transplant ourselves to Las Vegas, and it doesn't work that easy. You can get a
show, don't you?
To me, I have figured out, and this might just be my opinion, but it's so little to do with the talent and the product as compared to the personality and the way it makes an audience feel. Because with any kind of show, especially if you want the return customer, you've got to deliver a product that becomes addictive and makes you feel good,
Right.
regardless what style of music it makes. Because as you know, I do two different shows that are wildly different in terms
Right.
of the musical style,
Right.
but they're identical in terms of the way they make an audience and people feel,
right.
which is hopefully to feel very welcomed and comfortable. And
I would say that the idea of being just a band who plays music doesn't really hold water anymore.
Not really.
You have a show. Both of your shows are shows. One of our shows on the Vegas Video Network, Pub Crawl.
Mm-hmm.
David is in a band called the Nancy Ray Gun, and it's a very well-planned, choreographed show.
Right.
And they went from nothing to playing on Fremont Street.
that's awesome.
Yeah, but they have put a ton of work in making it a show instead of just the music.
And I think that helps.
Naga
People
High,
want to be entertained,
show.
of course.
Sin City Sinners, a show. I mean, there's all these guys who are really doing shows now. So I think the idea of I'm a great guitar player.
Right.
I'm going to do a Van Halen thing.
And quite honestly, if you do have a particular talent, I would probably, instead of going out and putting together some cover band or something, I might recommend to talented musicians or singers to audition for production shows that are already existing that can provide you work. As an example, a musician with Cirque du Soleil, or to be in the band of Jersey Boys, an
Do you
example.
know people who have done that?
Oh, sure, and they come to town, and then you get a great job working 4, 5, 6, 7 nights a week with a nice paycheck, benefits, salary. It's a guarantee. But more importantly, it's not on your shoulders to have to bring people through the door like it is with me.
I got to figure there's a ton of people auditioning to be the drummer for Cirque du Soleil.
Sure. Or Blue Man Group as an example.
Right.
They
I
have
auditioned
open
for that
auditions.
once, by
Did
the
you
way.
really?
Yeah, I did. I was old.
You're the wrong shade of blue, were you?
I was the wrong shade of old.
Wrong shade of old.
Too old. All right, we're going to take a break, and I'm going to feel a lot better for being old by drinking a beer. And we've got a bunch more questions about guitar players and doing some more stuff on the strip. This is Talktails with the very good-looking Chris Phillips.
I like that.
And I am very pale today. We'll see you a little bit later. Maybe. Oh, look. This is David Ivey from Pub Crawl. It's funny because it's David from. You should just leave it on. Hi, I'm David Ivey from Pub Crawl, and you're watching the Vegas Video Network. And scene.
Well, howdy, folks. You were watching Talktails. Once again, my name is Chris Phillips, and we apologize for those of you who tuned in to see my dear friend Travis Clower, who portrays... Wait a minute, this is him right here. Frankie Valli from Jersey Boys. Let's hear a number.
I've gained weight. I can't sing. And other than that, though, let's sing a little Four Tops.
No, but unfortunately he could not be here today, and so he is going to be here next Monday. So we hope you tune back in. And
Next July 11th.
Next July 11th. And instead, once again, I am put in the hot seat, and I hate talking about me, Scott, but I love the questions you have in terms of others trying to make it in this business. Because that's my God.
Okay, I got him. Get ready. Sit
right.
back. Grab a drink. Okay, another one from FD on the live chat. Love this. Interesting question. What about taking the Vintage Vegas show to Branson? Seems like there would be an audience who might get that, might appreciate that.
Yes, there would. Probably much more so, because it's definitely the age demographic that would appreciate that. For me, however, I have no interest in going to Branson, New York, LA, or anything, regardless of what I'm doing.
You're going to make it happen.
I want to be a Vegas guy. I was born and raised coming to the DI and to the Sands and seeing Wayne Newton and Don Rickles. Right. I didn't get into entertainment to just be an entertainer. I got into entertainment to be a Vegas entertainer.
There you go.
And so if I can't make it here...
Nice. All right. I love that. God, I just want to give you a big kiss.
But pertaining to that Vintage Vegas
you
show...
want to have a kiss? I'm sorry.
I have been drinking, and you do look better in person. So... Kidding.
What does that mean?
I don't know what that means. You feel better in person too, by the way.
Hey,
you've been working out, haven't you?
Hey, I didn't say stop. I just said, hey, that's... I'll be here all week, okay? Okay, let's get back, because you're making me a little nervous, and I'm sweating a little bit now.
Maybe me and you at the Pepper Mill afterwards.
I love the Pepper Mill. And I love you. Okay. When you're working with, for instance, station, this is from Jarvis, do you have a do not perform clause in your contract? Are you allowed to play in other areas within Vegas?
For the first 3 years that we were here, and the fact that they paid us this enormous amount of money, they could dictate anything they wanted to, and we abided by that gladly. Now, because times are different, and we're certainly very appreciative of working anywhere, they have loosened that clause up to the fact that we now, as an example, we're doing a big concert this Saturday out at the M Resort out by their pool.
Did you have to
That's
get
something we would not have been
that?
able to do a few years ago, no.
So did you have to clear it with them, or you just booked it?
The only person I have to clear anything with is my mom. I call her and say,
How is Mom?
She's trying.
Mom.
No. It's they realize we need to make a living and work when and where we can, but we're very selective as to what we don't just play any club or hotel. Unless it's got some kind of validity to it.
Right. Jake, moving to Vegas, he's a guitar player. Should I expect to have to play in multiple bands to make a living?
Probably. To be honest,
Do your musicians play in multiple bands?
They didn't up until just recently, because they are branching off into things that they are interested in doing because of their musical desires. And so they're doing different types of things, and I think. To be honest, I'm not really sure what they're doing.
So you actually came in with a little bit of a leg up. You kind of knew a lot of people, right? We
didn't know anybody when we got.
But you got in. You had your band already set when you got here, so you didn't have to look for anybody.
No, gosh,
right?
I still have all my same guys that I brought out here from Arizona
for
5
Zowie
years
Bowie.
ago. Yes.
But like when you did the Vintage Vegas show,
very different.
You had to go get them.
Yes. Now
how did you get them?
That's the type of show that requires professional musicians who are in this kind of clique or pool of working guys that do the big shows, from Terry Fader to Donnie and Marie. And so besides my hip-hop show that I mentioned, I also came out here with this passion and desire to keep this maverick spirit of Las Vegas alive by doing a vintage Vegas big band show that was very authentic and true to the way things were back in the 60s, early 70s, and early 80s, where the show was not about flying monkeys and pyrotechnics and tattoos and ear piercings. It's about a guy in a tuxedo.
Monkeys.
Sounds like the Wizard of Oz.
I was going to say, yikes.
But it's about the American songbook and tuxedos and cufflinks and cocktails and an orchestra and a spotlight and a big sound and personality.
How long did it take to build that show? I mean, you had the idea. I've got this idea. Vintage Vegas. Let's go ahead and do it. How long did it take to make that happen?
Well, luckily, just like anything I do, there isn't a single thing that's pre-rehearsed or predetermined in my life.
Which explains why some people thought today was
exactly.
July.
And so, it's a matter of song choice, and then you have, in that kind of show, you spend a great deal of time and money in having the songs arranged for you.
And are they also responsible then for finding the musicians?
Yes, and I have key guys that have a handle on the top dudes in town.
Right.
Or the cats, as they say.
I love that.
And so the Vintage Vegas show that I do, which has 15 musicians, they all play for the biggest shows in town. And I'm very lucky that when I do a show, they get a kick out of coming and playing with me because it's very loose. They get to drink. It's fun. You know, I pay them okay. And
let's talk about the Vintage Vegas thing, because I think it's a pretty sweet show. I mean, sweet as in nice.
It's my passion. It's what I came out here
to
do.
But also, it's really kind of a pretty hip show.
Yeah, it's got an edge to it.
But so you've already said, I mean, you did a limited thing over at Green Valley.
Several times throughout the last 5 years, I've taken it here and there and done this room here, that room, from the Lance Burton Theater to Green Valley Ranch to Red Rock, and now we're in some pretty serious talks with 2 different properties on the Strip to finally, for the first time in my life, do a 4 or 5 night a week real showroom show.
No kidding.
Except what I want to do is not to do the traditional 7:30 type of show with a ticket. I want to bring back the 10:30 late night show where you just come in and have like a 2-drink minimum.
Class.
And so it becomes something that becomes what's referred to as a hang, where other musicians and other entertainers can just stop in on any given moment and jump up on stage and sing a song with us, kind of the way it used to be after the Rat Pack. You'd go down to the lounge and jump up with Louis Prima or something. Yeah. I want that kind of environment to come back to Las Vegas. There's nothing like that.
Let me talk to you about the 2-drink minimum. And because we're going to talk about this on my show tomorrow. So we were walking by Bally's to going to Frank's show, and we were at this lounge, which used to be one of our favorite lounges, kind of a disco-y lounge.
Sure.
I forget who was there, and there was nobody in there. Well, actually, there was a few people. It was just family people, and they had a 2-drink minimum. And we didn't go in because of that 2-drink minimum. So does that concern you? I mean, now this is not the same kind of thing that you're doing. I mean, I get that, but there's, I literally sat in a bar about 500 feet or 50 feet away from it. I could hear everything. I didn't pay my 2-drink minimum. I think it was a huge miss not allowing people to get in there and create a crowd.
For the crowd that we bring in, we're very proud to say they're nothing but a bunch of drunks, first and foremost.
2-drink minimum is like,
that's nothing.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and pour me the 2 drinks now.
Right. Luckily, we intend on appealing to a significant local following, which knows that they're going to come in there to stay. And that
on the Strip, you're going to appeal
absolutely,
to a local
sure. But we have a choice. We have to do something to create revenue within the room we're in.
Right.
And so I have a choice. Do I sell a ticket for $49.95?
Right.
And you get nothing but the show?
Is this a room that I could just walk by and go in, or is it a room that so it's not a room?
The other one is considerably more significant, and it's something that doesn't even exist yet, and it's very cool.
What are you going to know about all
It would
this?
involve a restaurant, show club, nightclub all in one, and it's very cool. There's nothing like it on the Strip, and it's involving a team of investors, and if I told you the name of it, you would say, now that is freaking cool. But I can't talk about it.
A little bit of whisper,
it's cool.
whisper.
But that's for the future. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to be doing this other room that does, in fact, have to create revenue for the hotel other than just sending people out into the casino.
Right.
And so instead of doing a ticket, I want to have like a nightclub environment. And even a cover charge, I think, is something that distracts certain people from coming in. Yeah. And so typically people know that when they come in, they're going to have a drink anyway.
Right.
So, a couple cocktails. I want people to be liquored up seeing
But don't the casinos know, I'm going to come in, I'm going to watch this show, I'm going to have 2 drinks anyways. Why put up a sign that might freak people out? I mean, that's the impression I had from the Bally's gig. I mean, it may be different depending on the room.
Yeah, I think this particular room, I don't think we're even going to push that or make that a big deal.
Yeah, because that room, that lounge didn't have that before.
No.
I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Well,
man?
again, it goes back to the fact that casinos now need to generate revenue in every square foot of the property.
It's interesting. It just seems a little short-sighted. Because I would have been in there.
Terrible.
We would have hung out, had a couple of drinks, 2 of us, because we weren't told.
But you don't want them to dictate to you.
It just doesn't make any sense. And we made us in there for an hour. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to have that, because it was a cover band. I mean, it was by the way, they were very good.
Right.
But it just didn't make any sense to do that. All right. Actually, it says Julie wanted to know that you're hinting on something about the Strip. Can you give us more insight?
I might within the next couple of weeks, but unfortunately, no.
All right. Let's see what else we got here. Which do you enjoy more? Knowing that you do both shows, the Vegas Vintage Show and Zowie Bowie, do you have a preference? Who's your favorite kid?
My favorite kid?
Right. You got to pick Zowie Bowie or the Vintage Show. Do you have a favorite kid?
Yeah,
Wait,
sure.
the answer is
No,
no.
of course. And for different reasons. The hip hop nightclub concert is a blast. We have so much fun, and quite frankly, there's hotter chicks to pick from. And I'm not saying that the beautiful ladies that come into the Vintage Vegas show are not attractive, but usually their husbands or their wheelchairs restrict me from going home with them.
Unbelievable.
That's terrible. I'm kidding. But no, if I could do one or the other, it'd definitely be. I came here to do the Vintage Vegas show. The people who come to see that are the most appreciative audience, and I love them to death. And I'm an old soul, for sure. I was born and raised on old vintage standards, and I hope that I can create a bastion in this town that still caters to that type of music, that type of attitude, and that type of environment, but to put kind of like an edgy, hip slant to it.
How do you get the kids going to the clubs to want to listen to that? Because it's great music. I mean,
right.
Greatest melodies in the world.
It's not easy.
I mean, because that's ultimately your job.
Because it's primarily an older crowd, of course.
Yeah.
And there's a couple factors. One, you put it later at night. You push the drinking. And you try to put a certain edge to it or do certain musical selections like what we're going to be doing in my show. Is not just old standards written in the 30s and 40s,
right.
But we're going to be doing songs that are very contemporary and putting kind of an old vintagey flair to it with a horn arrangement behind them. And
is that like what's that guy?
That kind of thing. So it'll be
Richard Cheese, remember that guy?
Yes, but that obviously is somebody is in fact cheesy,
yeah,
and on purpose.
But he crushed it.
Yeah, he made very successful career doing that. Whereas it's kind of a joke. Where what I'm doing is not. I don't intend it to be silly or a joke. I take it very seriously and make it kind of cool.
But you have a very humorous part of your show. I mean, your show is all about kind of that.
When the song stops, then it
wink
becomes
and a nod
us, and absolutely
through your whole show.
But I take the music very seriously in terms of trying to deliver it in the truest sense of how it's supposed to be delivered.
Do you have a favorite venue that you've ever played here? I mean, you've played a lot. Describe to us. You know what, Chris? Here you go. Here's $1 bazillion. Design your venue.
You know what's interesting is particularly pertaining to the nightclub concert, there are so few appropriate venues for that type of thing. And we could not be more blessed and appreciative of not only the station casinos hiring us to come out to Red Rock, but we're appreciative to the people who designed the room that we're in, which is called Rocks, which is a show club.
Right.
It houses about, we bring in 500-600 locals. And so it's a perfect combination between a concert venue and a nightclub, because it's a concert venue with VIP cabanas and VIP bottle service and such, giant dance floor, incredible production. From a performer's standpoint, you want to be on a stage that makes you feel as though you're of some kind of validity and status, and they do, and it's a wonderful stage. It's a great environment, and it's still right in the heart of the casino.
Yeah.
There are some rooms that are okay in this town, but they're kind of off the beaten path and locked in a corner somewhere. You can't be loud, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. But for my money, I don't think there's a better stage in town than Red Rock, and that's why we're there.
For the Zowie Bowie show.
Now, for the vintage show, it's very different. Now,
you want to be able to see you.
Now, as you may know, I mentioned this, we were in the Lance Burton Theater at the Monte Carlo, which is a gorgeous, what looks like an opera house.
Yeah.
Beautiful theater.
And everybody's looking down on the stage, is that right?
To some degree, yes. There's balconies and such.
Right.
But I'm not a fan of theaters. I am a fan of showrooms. Mm-hmm. There's a very big difference. Yeah. Theaters are like going to a movie house where you sit there in a confined little seat with your popcorn and you can't get up, you can't socialize, you can't smoke, you can't get a drink, you can't do. Showrooms, obviously, are little cocktail tables and booths, and you can get up and socialize, and it's very much in the traditional setting of what Vegas is all about. And so the rooms that I'm talking about doing for sure are showrooms and not theaters.
How high is the stage? Because I've seen shows where the stage was too high.
Yeah, exactly. We just got done doing an engagement at a room where
I thought the stage might be too high.
way too high.
Yeah.
And so the room we're going to be going into is, I think, just right. It's perfect. It's intimate. It seats about 250 people, and you can kind of get to know everybody.
And you've got that, the little tables where you're kind of sitting, you're
exactly.
right there, eye
Cool.
to eye, and that's nice.
And I think we're going to brand the room to my name, too.
Really? Chris Phillips' room?
Well, or Zowie Bowie, probably.
Oh, Zowie Bowie. You're Zowie Bowie?
I go by that sometimes.
You're Zowie Bowie?
I've been doing this 10 weeks. You don't know what my
know that we
name
got
is.
Zowie Bowie here? You guys telling me I'm Chris Phillips. I can sell you some jewelry. And now I got Zowie Bowie, and I never even got her VIP seat.
No,
what
but
the hell?
To be honest, at this point, if I'm going to go into a new environment, it's not just about trying to get a gig where they pay you a little salary and you come in and do your thing. To me, it's all about the overall branding of your product. And so that comes with marketing. It's about branding the room name. It's about product, merchandise, and all that stuff that goes with it. And so if you can land a deal where all that is included, that usually creates a little bit more job security than just saying, come in here and try it for a couple of weeks, kid, and if it doesn't work, you're out.
So we're about ready to wrap up here. A couple quick ones. You have an international following, yeah?
At every show.
Seriously?
Yes, very much
I'm
so.
talking about the girls that you go out with, because that makes me sad, really.
We always have a nice congregation of hot Filipino girls.
Oh, for God's sake.
We do. That's hot.
Good night,
You know what I'm talking
everybody.
about.
Okay.
Stand up to the left.
Last question we're going to ask in the live chat, and then we're going to go wash ourselves off because we're dirty. We're dirty people.
I feel
here.
like it's every Friday night at 11, we have a gathering of the UN in there.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
It's awesome.
Please, God, shut this show down. Do you think live streaming a Zowie Bowie show would help draw future visitors to the show when they come to Vegas?
Yes, once they get out of prison, they get to.
Oh, that's nice.
They can come see our show.
You know what? Everybody in the audience is wearing stripes. Okay. Go ahead and please put an end to this show because I'm sad now.
Oh, let's hope that we never
Are
have
you going to be able to pull that off, by the way?
And I'm glad that you didn't ask me a single personal question. I was really sweating over here, hoping that it wasn't going to be about.
I've heard your personal story. We're going to do a pay-per-view on that one. Make some real money. Wait till you hear what this cat's doing on his own. It's stunning.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Well, folks, once
And
again,
photos, by the way. We got pictures and videos. And
Oh, yes.
hung like a horse.
And maybe we'll show some of that next week when you tune in Monday at 4 o'clock to watch Talktails here on the Vegas Video Network, where next week's guest will be Travis Clore from the Jersey Boys.
50-50. Hard to say. There's a good chance he'll actually have a calendar.
And then
like
a couple weeks from now, we've got Gordy Brown coming up.
Oh, I've seen him. He's great.
That'll be interesting. And
He's a good man, that one.
yes,
He's
and-
got the biggest smile.
well, him and I went out the other night.
I saw those photos. You guys were like two lanterns glowing your white
Everywhere we
teeth.
went, they were like, "Oh, it's Siegfried and Roy." That's not true.
You guys do any kind of... Never mind. I don't want to know about the magic that you would do. Hey.
You know, I swear to God, Gordy Brown, I didn't really know him that well. But by the time we got home at 9 o'clock in the morning,
Together?
together,
You're freaking me out a little bit now.
we spent a night at Crave.
What?
I'm kidding. No, we did not do that.
People don't know what Crave is.
No,
it's
that's
a...
not
bar.
No, it was he and I. It was he and I, Jeff from the Jersey Boys. We had Mark Savard,
Oh, yeah.
hypnotist, and
Have you ever gone out with a hypnotist and said, hey, hypnotize that chick over there?
you have no idea how manipulative they can be.
Does it work? Have you seen it happen? In a bar. This is the pay-per-view preview.
Well, Mark Savard is married.
So...
Anthony Cool's on the other hand. That's a whole different kind of
Have you seen
night.
him do something like that? Seriously. I mean, off the record, no one's watching.
I know Anthony. And,
We
and,
turned off the stream a long time ago, right, Jacob? No. Attaboy.
and Anthony, like myself, likes the young ladies.
He's kind of a hunter, that one.
He's a hunter and gatherer.
Yeah. If you see him go, you will like a spiky-haired man. Come to me. Really? That'd be pretty neat.
He's very effective.
Next week's show, how to hypnotize women if you've got spiky hair. All right, let's close this thing out because I have to go and watch off.
Have a good week.
Oh, and email us at what? Email.
It's Talktails
There you
at VegasVideoNetwork.com.
You know, we have a toll-free number.
Yes, and I have it memorized.
Hit it.
Your toll-free number is 866-966-4599, and it certainly helps to have it on the screen.
And if you've got live chat questions, you could blink Scott Whitney, because that's sweet. Oh, look at me, I'm blinking again. You hire a guy, and he just blinks your name. That's how you go. Live chat. Are you done?
Oh, I'm never done.
Let's have a drink, wanna?
Oh, please do.
See you guys later.